Hey everybody, today I'm going to be doing my second VOD review for Jarizapo. Uh, Jari is a Masters Lucio main. He's pretty good, he's got a lot of mechanical skill, and today we're going to be talking about some of the intangibles that I think that he can improve upon. Let's jump right in. So one thing about Jari is that he does not join chat.
Hello, team.
This is really a big issue in Masters and above. I think it could be hurting you up to 500 SR, honestly. I think it's really massive. I can understand that sometimes people have reasons why they don't want to join voice. I would make an effort to try and figure out a way that voice chat will work for you, because callouts are super important. We'll see a couple instances. I think I'm only going to review the defense because it's really the most relevant portion of the VOD. We'll see some instances that I'll call out where you talking might have helped you guys out. I'm just going to leave that up there though, because in everything I'm calling out, everything I say, just remember that, add on to that you should be talking as well. And you check everybody out, which is fine. And people are asking for heroes. See, I would just be engaging with your team right now, saying, "No, I play Lucio only. This comp should be okay if you like it, or we're missing this if you don't like it." You don't have to flame people into swapping. You obviously should try not to do that, but trying to build a better team comp is something that's really important at the start of fights. And as Lucio, you have that understanding of what those good comps are. It's something that'll come. The more you play Lucio, the more you see the whole game. So I'm sure you have that understanding, and you have some useful information to contribute here. At least you're listening, though. That is something. Rezo P holds for a long time. It's not wrong. Rez is pretty powerful right now, especially with the way the defensive point mechanics work. So some of the good things that we see from Jari is that he's actually got really solid aim. He's got pretty good control of his crossfades and good wall riding as well. You can see, I think you probably have better aim than me, Jari, to be honest. But I'm still new to PC. That boop was wasted. We can go back and look at it. He was trying to boop the tracer off after a recall, which is a good idea. It's just a prediction thing over time that you'll develop. So good idea, poor execution. I'm sure you thought the same thing when it happened. See, okay, so now the game has started. We're on fight 1.5 now, right? What is their team comp? What is their team comp? I don't know. I know nothing about their team comp. You haven't pressed tab. You should really be pressing tab, and I think that's kind of related to your lack of communication. You kind of don't feel like you have much to contribute, but knowing their team comp, calling that out, that's something that I do at the start of every game. As soon as team comps come out, I say, oh, they have this if it's greedy. Like, oh, they have a Junkrat. That really doesn't make sense with the rest of their comp. Let's exploit that. And I would try and develop that reflex, I guess. Definitely pressing tab. Even if you're not going to be in columns, pressing tab is still useful because it influences your own play. You don't even know, like, I don't even know what your team comp is right now. So we know they have a Winston. We know they have a Tracer. We know they have a Mercy. We know they have an Ana. I don't even know what their last one is, though. Still haven't seen it. Doomfist. Alright. But you see good wall riding, good positioning, that sort of thing. But you're not calling targets you're on. That would help you out. That boop was another one wasted. I think you maybe, the range is pretty short on that. I'm sure I don't need to tell you, but try and make sure that you maximize the efficiency of that because it hurts your DPS if you end up using it when you don't need it, basically. So don't overboot. You could, if you're having issues with that really consistently, I don't think you necessarily are, but for someone else who might be, if you're overbooping a ton, demap it for a day or two. Play only quick play. Just do DPS. Don't boop anyone ever, and then you add it back in, and then you will probably be getting those full bursts of headshots, and then you boop. That's how you maximize damage.
Behind, Ana is behind. 1 HP, Ana on the point.
So you're responding to calls, and that's good. I think you're playing a little bit forward in general. I think this is fine here because of the way your team is holding, but later on we see some positioning issues on the second point. That's a good push out though to ferry back the jump.
Gilo is on the right. Dumpy's low. I put healing on the. Okay, let's go split. Let's go split.
That was a good kite.
You can kill the monkey. Genji's one.
So what is their comp? I don't know what their comp is. Like I don't know how to prep you for beat. Like a Genji Doomfist is what they had. Genji Doomfist, Winston. What's their second tank? Genji Doomfist, Winston. Let's just start from start of the fight. So Tracer dies.
You can kill the monkey. Genji's one.
Genji,
Monkey
Monkey,
no sleep. Ana no sleep. Jumper.
Ana. That's 4. And then there's a Mercy.
I put healing.
Is it triple deeps?
Healing on the main.
I'm lost. I don't know what I'm missing.
Okay, I think
So the thing is that comp should be super important, eminent in your mind when you're thinking about how to use beat. That's why it's really important right now and why I need to know what they have. Because your beat isn't for you, it's for your team to respond to ults. So knowing they just use Blade is useful, which we do know that because we saw that in the last fight. But knowing what else they have tells us what we can use beat for. If they have a Doomfist, we probably don't want to use beat for that. It's not too effective. If they have, I mean, we'll see. Let's just continue. But keeping in mind that I wish I knew what your team comp was right now because it would influence my choice of when to beat. It looks like they have a Zarya, so that must have been what I was missing this whole time. So I would be holding beat for Graviton. Absolutely. Because that, you don't have another defensive ult, right? Because I think you're an Ana. Yeah, Ana Lucio. Okay. That was... I don't even know... What were you trying to beat for? For the Doomfist ult? I think... It was a good kite. You did, like... But... Doomfist ult can be dipped pretty easily. I'm gonna hop in. Doomfist ult you don't need beat for, especially if it's just you. Whenever a Doomfist ults me, it's actually really when he's most vulnerable, especially if you're Lucio. So Doomfist ulted here, right? He ulted here, and you were here, and you just kind of stood still. You ended up beating before he even confirmed, I think. So he could have just ulted somebody else, but he did ult you. But what I would have done is I would have stood here, right against the wall, and I wouldn't have moved. I would have just stayed completely still. And then the moment he triggered on me, you just speed out, and you're gone. You're already out of it. In the time it takes you to speed out, you are outside of the range. In the time it takes him, between confirmation and him landing, it requires, you have more than enough time to get out if you're against a wall. And then you can just dink him 4 times because he actually has a moment of vulnerability afterwards. And then you could do the same thing you did, which this kite was beautiful, where Doomfist just flew right under you. So I think that beat is going to hurt you a lot going forward. Let's continue, though. Your team is very communicative, which kind of lowers the impact of your Waka comps. Wow, that was a lucky health pack. Right? So the fact that your team is communicating a lot makes it less apparent how much your lack of communication is affecting your team. Basically, it's less impactful than it normally would be. But with a quiet team, especially, you need to be talking more because somebody's got to be making those callouts, and you're lucky that your team is doing it for you. It really is. I mean, Lucios are usually IGLs though, so
Doomfist is low.
you should be calming some stuff. I think you're pretty good positioning wise,
Restore
and you've
pressure.
definitely made some good plays. But those, I'm looking for the stuff that I can help you improve with, not trying to. Oh. Nice.
What the fuck? Need hitting. Mercy low. Mercy low. Yeah.
It's good focus though.
Okay, I go.
See,
Bomb, everything.
yeah, we're
I'm on the top.
that right there would have been the beat. The beat would have saved you. Beat comes out. The Winston was already dead, but you could have saved the Ana, the soldier, and you. And I think the soldier ulted as well. That's what it sounded like. So that is what cost you that point right there. You did your beat, I believe, didn't do anything. It was just we can go back, but as far as I remember, everybody was taking like a little bit of chip, nothing totally unmanageable. And then the Doomfist ult came in, and you ulted for that. And it might have killed you. I think you could have escaped without ult. And even if it had have killed you, I think you still would have won the fight. So I definitely draw attention to that. I think that was a misplay.
Okay, I try to go on the top.
And it was mechanically good. You were kind of in a good position to get everybody on a sight. That's a good speeding the Ana back. I would have asked the Ana to come back earlier, though. And this is fine where you're at now. Got 3, 4 in the aura.
1 kilo. 1 kilo. Nice.
Good shit. But you should be calling that, right? The Tracer's in the cubby. Why don't our team needs to know that? Well, that's just unlucky. Apparently they fixed his hitbox in PTR, so that might be a non-issue later on. Which is okay, but if they had a Pharah, that would be a big issue, and you need to be asking for a swap. So I would say again, so they Graviton not long ago, and you were at 60 to beat. So I don't think they have Graviton now, even though you do have beat. But assuming their comp is still Tracer, Doomfist, Zarya, Winston, Ana, Mercy, I would definitely be saving beat for Graviton. Even if you know she doesn't have it, because I don't think you could get another one by the time she gets Graviton, which is key. So we'll see if it ends up being the Graviton that causes the team wipe on you guys.
There, the Pharah. The Pharah, Mercy. Oh, I need to switch.
I think this is a bit aggressive against the Pharmercy. I think you were doing a great job of wall riding and making yourself as hard to hit as possible, but your team has a soldier. It's the soldier's job to kill the Pharah. I know it's like funny and memey to kill the Pharah, and maybe you were just doing it for funsies, but if you're trying to maximize your play, I would have held back probably and just chilled. I think everything will be fine here because Winston, we don't know if he has ult because you didn't press tab, but he's pushing out pretty aggressively like he has ult, so. That was a good chip damage, but you're too far. You should have been trying to kite back your Winston the whole time. I think you're a little bit overestimating the frag potential of Lucio, which he does do a lot of damage. Okay, that's where your positioning ended up hurting you. Whoa. I don't know what just happened there. So Soldier was kind of on the back right, and we didn't even see what he was doing because we were way up front. I'm not sure that you necessarily could have saved him, but I think one boop on the Tracer might have definitely been enough to peel for him. Get your Ana to heal him. Okay, so that was a god beat, mechanically. Like, it was amazing. Actually, you got the beat out before the pulse bomb killed you. But you needed to save it for Graviton. So I think you probably shouldn't have beat it there. Even though it was like amazing and ridiculous. We'll watch it again because it was awesome. Out of his sleep into a beat. But you're down 1. And he's like, what, halfway to respawn? A quarter to respawn. So you're starting to stagger in. So I mean, you dying to a pulse bomb solo isn't really the end of the world, I think. So I think you should hold beat. Because everybody still died. The Winston bubbled it. Like, you only got yourself. It was awesome and really cool, but it wasn't what your team needed right there. So nothing changed because of your beat drop. You would have died a little bit earlier, which means you would have respawned a little bit earlier. Maybe Tracer would have been able to focus another target a little more, but I don't think so. I think that you would still have one person on the point just like you do now while your Torb is coming back. With ult question mark? Haven't pressed tab. So right now, this would be a good beat coming in. It wouldn't be an amazing beat though, because you still kind of want to hold for grab, and your team is still staggering in, so that's fine. It's almost like you want to wait for a fat one before you beat. Right there, that's the fat one. And the Pharah had just killed herself. If you had beat it right there, you would have won that fight. I'm pretty confident. They didn't have the damage for it. Now, I know that hindsight is 2020, and like it's hard to think of that sort of thing in the moment. But you're not even trying to be honest. Like I know I'm kind of being a little bit of a jerk here, harping on it, but you have a lot of mechanical skill. You have a lot of good wall riding. Probably, like, I would say your mechanical skill, like aiming wise, is better than mine. I think your amps are all pretty solid. That's at least at my level, even though I'm a GM. But you're not really thinking about your beats for the team. You're kind of like, you should be at least looking to see what you want to try to do. And if you're forced to beat early, like, okay, shit happens. It's just one game, right? But you should be trying to find the beat drop that best suits your team. I wish I could roll out like you, though. It's very consistent, very smooth. So you're doing a good job. You're kind of a little low for stall, especially with the Pharah. I'd probably be hanging out on the pillars a little more. We'll see if we can... Looks like you're okay. So, you won that fight anyway, but I think... I mean, maybe your beat was what you needed. I think if you'd waited for the better one, though, it would have been better off. If their Pharah hadn't killed herself, if they'd gotten Pharah ult out, I think it would have been a big difference. So that's a good visibility that you had right there. You really... that was not a good ant. Okay. Let's walk that back. So, we're here. We're looking. Enemy team is pushing right. Okay, we know that. You should call it out. And then you amp for what? Okay. I think that amp will be important later. That's 12 seconds of no amps. And I accidentally amp sometimes too. I'm not perfect about it, but I would try and make sure that you're not amping before it can get some value. You did end up getting it back, but I think you're kind of lucky in that regard. I think your team is fragging out here, and I think you're doing okay. But I think that if your team was worse and their team was better, if you were making the different choices that I was making, that I'm talking to you about, I think you'd be having a larger impact right now. This is good fragging out. You don't want to be in front of the team, though. I would probably be just behind them. So that way, if they get past, you can boop them off point, which you are falling back, and that's good. Yeah, the fair is left. Debated by the Torb. Do you have that other beat again? Nano boosted. Okay. So That actually wasn't some of the best play that last 10 seconds there. I know you were kind of memeing, but let's run through what should have happened ideally. You shouldn't have been nanoed. That shouldn't have happened. But that's on your Ana, not you. You shouldn't have beat dropped because it's not over yet. Imagine Tracer got a crazy touch behind you, right? And got a fat 5-man pulse bomb. We would need your beat for that instead of this. You just gotta, like, especially if that's gonna be the difference between Masters and Grandmasters, is being prepared for that unexpected shit. Not that that's gonna happen right here. Okay. And then you booped the Zarya away from the Diva Bomb. You could have killed her if you booped her into it. I would always try to boop people into the Diva Bomb. But, I mean, the round's over. I'm sure you're just trying to have fun at this point because it's like, hey, let's meme a little bit because we won. But just for other people's purposes and for the purposes of games that are a little more sweaty than this, that was the optimal play. And I think you know that, but, you know. What sense do you run, man? Seems very high, but your flicks are quite consistent. So I think I'm going to stop it here. I'm going to call it there because I think that the attack phase is not really a very good... I looked through it already. It's not really a good, useful thing to review. The enemy team just ends up memeing, and Jari's team just utterly destroys them with like 7 minutes on the clock because Jari's a god. I think, in general, though, the things you want to focus on are pressing tab. Super duper important. Press tab. It's really easy. Do it all the time. Anytime you're, like, when you were looking at this team right here, when they were pushing in, tab. Don't fat finger your ult, though. A potato. Tab is super duper useful. I think you should make an effort to join comms in some way. Being able to call out that the team is pushing right side on that second point would have been very useful. I think your ults are a little bit selfish. I think that's in relation, though. I think it's tied quite closely to the fact that you're not using tab. I think if you were to use tab more, you would know, okay, they have Zarya. I need to be worried about Graviton. So I think that's just a combination of that. But in general, I mean, try not to get yourself in situations where you're forced to use your ult early. And I think your aggressive positioning, so that's the last part, right, is the aggressive positioning on point 2 kind of ended up hurting your team, which forced you to use an earlier beat drop, which was fine, and your team ended up winning the fight, which is good, but it was maybe not the most impactful beat you could have had there. And if their team was better, I think if their Pharah was capable of getting out an ult that was good, I think your team would have lost that, actually. Because of the lack of beat drops and the fact that you were the only defensive ult. I'm sorry this was a pretty negative VOD review, Jari. I think that you have a lot of skills. I was really impressed with your wall riding, with your aim, in general with your boops. I think there was a couple missed boops, but I mean that happens to me all the time. The one amp, I think that was pretty much the only one I saw where there was an issue, and it was probably just a misclick. But definitely make sure to keep a tight eye on that. And then the Diva Bomb boop. That's pretty much like tab, comms, ults, positioning a little bit, Diva Bomb boop. That's it. That's all you gotta do to be as good as me. Honestly. The comms will be the biggest impactor, though, actually. I think it'll be even bigger than your ult and tab. Those will be big, though. Tab is big. That's another 200 SR, maybe. Alright, thanks for watching. Thanks for submitting the VOD review. I appreciate it. Later.